Well, as we predicted last week, Oxford United have been officially relegated back to League One after 2 years in the Championship, following a 1-0 loss to Wrexham and just before the 4-1 win over Sheffield Wednesday. Overall, we were discussing it before we started rolling. We knew we were down. We'd already accepted it. Sheffield Wednesday was nice to score some goals, and there was some nice potential send-offs in there. Gents, before we crack into what's going to be our awards night, as the club had their awards night last night, any kind of thing to touch on the Wrexham or Sheffield Wednesday games, Connor?
Wrexham was shit. Sheffield Wednesday, the atmosphere was shit for about 5 minutes, and then I think everybody got over it, and it was actually a pretty enjoyable day.
Will?
Yeah, I echo everything you said. Wrexham was just shit, and then Sheffield Wednesday was just sort of like everyone accepted it, and it was quite nice to see all the fan base come together. Really, that was my highlight from the Sheffield game. I couldn't care about the scoreline, to be honest.
And very nice touch that when the Sheffield Wednesday fans were on their coaches out, that both fan bases were applauding each other, because obviously we will see Sheffield Wednesday next year. So, as I mentioned,
they are too.
Yeah, exactly. Before we crack on with the award ceremony, please remember, folks, to like, comment, and subscribe. Massively help us out in the algorithm. Follow us on Twitter at our apps you can see on screen. It's not been the season we were hoping for, but we've tried to bring some positive moments to Oxford United's season. Obviously, it hasn't worked all the time. But, would be massively appreciated. Connor, run us through kind of some of the categories we're going to be talking about, because there's some interesting ones that we've thrown a couple of fun ones and some of the more generic ones.
Yeah, we have some good categories here. Obviously, we have the generic ones like Player of the Season, Breakout Star of the Season, Signing of the Season. Performance, underperformer, overperformer as well, which is an interesting one. Flop of the season, which will be for transfers. Best Oxford social of the season. I got thrown by this one, so I'm excited to hear about that. And anyway, goal of the season or away day of the season, and best away fans at the OX4 of the season.
Yeah. So the tie is on. Let's get cracking on, shall we? Obviously, the main award of the night is going to be the player of the season. We'll finish with that. Also to note that this is just for the men's first team. The women's first team has had a decent season by their standards, not quite promotion to WSL2, but they've had a decent season. And also the under-21s won their league and have progressed to the national final. So well done to those lads as well. They got a little presentation on the pitch for the Sheffield Wednesday game, I think it was. Was it the Wrexham game? Either way, congratulations to both those two, but it's going to be mainly focused on the men's first team. So we'll start with, I think the kind of, I think this is probably going to go to the most recent fans we saw, but away fans of the season. This obviously goes to the best fans we saw at the Castad in OX4 this campaign. And I have to kick off, like I said, my nomination is going to go to the Sheffield Wednesday fans. Were fantastic. I know they've been like that all season long because they know they've been down, singing all kinds of different songs. I've always gotten very well with Sheffield Wednesday fans. Yeah. Connor, who would your nomination be?
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday fans. I thought that they were in fine voice yesterday. They've been like that all season, and especially since they got relegated in February. I thought that they had the best fan base that been there. But at the Sam all season, even when they're 3-1 down, 2-0 down, that they were still singing. And we've been quite accustomed to them. I've got 4 out of the past 5 years, I think it is. So every time we either go to Hillsborough or see the fans come down to Oxford, it's always an enjoyable, amicable affair.
100%. Will, who would your award go to?
It's the same, and I'm pretty much just repeating what you guys said. It'll be Sheffield Wednesday, not just for their showing at Oxford, but they're showing all season. They've taken thousands of fans up and down the country when they haven't had a chance in hell of winning a game in football, let alone scoring any goals. So yeah, I think it would have to be them. The way that they've supported their team throughout the season has been very sort of inspiring, and just sort of shows that's what football's all about, really.
Yeah. 100%. Honorable mention, I'll go to Charlton fans. I thought Charlton were very, very good when they came to OX4. Annoyingly, obviously, they got very loud after a certain incident. But the award, congratulations to the Sheffield Wednesday fans as our away fans of the season. On the flip side, it's our away day of the season. This doesn't necessarily have to go to the best result that we saw away from home, but the overall day. Will, what's your nomination?
So for away day that I experienced, I'm going to say Bristol City, because it was our first away win of the season, and the fact that we were celebrating in the concourse at halftime as though we just won the league, I think sort of speaks volumes to just how important it was. Also getting a win over Liam Manning, is always obviously it was less significant for that game, but it's also a positive. I'm going to say away day of the season that I didn't experience, I'm still gutted about, would have to be Leicester. Just watching the videos of that away end sort of erupting when those 2 goals went in just made me wish that I was there to experience it. But yeah, for me personally, it would have to be Bristol City.
Connor, your nomination, are you going to go with a ground that's relatively close to where you spend a lot of time, or?
I did think about Bristol City, but no, my away day is going to have to be Leicester. Will, I can't believe you missed it. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. Thank you very much.
Easily top 5 away days I think I've done in a fair while. It was, and that bloke that I just shit on all season when he goes past Leicester goalkeeper and he sticks it in the back of the net. Absolute pandemonium. It was fantastic.
I concur with you as well. Leicester is my choice. It was an absolutely sensational day. Fair to say, I was a bit worse for wear before walking into the King Power. But everything about that, it's the only thing that was lacking was it wasn't blistering hot, but it wasn't cold either. And the like you say, that away end was sensational. The moment that Sparky goes round the keeper, it feels like the entire game goes in slow motion. And it was, for me, I don't think you could have found 2 more likable goal scorers in that game. Longy at one end and then Sparky at the other. So by the majority vote, Leicester City is our away day of the season. That was absolutely sensational. I think that will be the case for a lot of other fan bases this campaign, that even though we'll be facing Leicester City, the King Power next campaign, that Sheffield Wednesday had a brilliant time there, even though obviously they lost in the late minute, but thoroughly enjoyable day at King Power. Am I right in saying that was, because I know it was for me, was that both your first respective times at going to Leicester?
Yeah,
it would have been. Yeah.
I don't think that
whenever I hear people talk about it, I always feel worse after this. Yeah.
What are you saying, Cole?
I was going to say, I don't think that Oxford have been to the King Power, I don't think, since it's been open.
No, you're right, actually. Yeah, it was like the 90s or some cup game that my old man told me about. So we'll dip into the negative end of things. Next award is Flop of the Season. Now, we've sort of combined this because initially we were going to separate the worst signing of the season and worst performer of the season, but we thought they kind of fall into the same category. Connor, who would your nomination be for this award?
I did think about who Will is going to say, and it was going to be him, but then I changed just for content purposes. So my flop and underperformer, I put Luke Harris. Didn't really see much of him. Didn't really see many glimpses of a championship footballer. He came in with we were excited. We were a bit positive about him coming in from Fulham. Scored 1 solitary goal against Middlesbrough, and apart from that, can't really remember what else he did throughout the season for his very short, limited time. So, in terms of flop incorporated underperformer, it would be Luke Harris. But just as a footnote for complete underperformer, I would put Siriki Dembele.
Well, I've got a feeling you and I might agree on this. Who's your flop of the season?
I don't know, actually. I actually completely forgot Luke Harris even existed, which I think
proves my point.
I'm gonna say Philippe Krastev actually, because
Okay.
of how I was so excited when we signed him, and maybe I was just being wowed by the highlight reels and whatever. But I thought he was going to be a really exciting player, a really explosive player. He's going to aid our attack. He was going to, bring goals, creativity to the club, and he did somewhat. And like he had a small impact, but like considering like what he should have given to us on the pitch and what he actually then produced was so disappointing. And like I can't really think of any games that he stood out. I can't really think of any moments that he stood out. I'm sure there are a few, but just for the amount of promise and the amount of excitement that he came in with, and then what he actually ended up delivering, that is why I'm gonna for me he's flop of the season and underperformer.
Mm-hmm. So, not who I thought you were going to go with. I'm actually going to flip what Connor said, because I am going to give a mention to Luke Harris. I don't think it's entirely his fault. I think at this point in his career, the Championship is a bit ahead of him at the minute. Obviously, he didn't get an awful lot of time at Birmingham last season, and we thought this is the season when he was going to get some decent minutes under his belt, but he didn't. Was really in and out of the side. But I'm going to go with Siriki Dembele. Obviously, we haven't seen him for a fair while, but this is a player that I thought this second season was going to be huge for Siriki. And, under a manager at the start of the campaign that obviously trusts him a lot, but he never put in consistent performances. I mean, even saying that, I can't remember one good performance that Siriki put in. So many times Birmingham away runs down into a cul-de-sac and loses the ball so many times. We've talked time and time again about how easy he's pushed off the ball. I'd go with Siriki Dembele. So we have to decide on a wooden spoon. We've both thrown out an option. Will, as you know, I respect the choice of Krastev, but out of Harris and Dembele, who would you say deserves that wooden spoon?
I think it would have to be Dembele, just because he came in. We all thought that he was going to be brilliant, or we all thought he was going to offer something really substantial this season, and he didn't. Whereas Luke Harris was just a bit irrelevant this season. And he's just another name on the team sheet for me, whereas Dembele was properly disappointing. So for me, I have to go with Dembele. Yeah,
obviously still at the club, and I think that some of the performances bonuses have actually been activated. I think we've now paid 1.6 million quid for Siriki Dembele, which doesn't look great on the recruitment team. That's more than we paid for blooming Brodie Spencer. Next is the award that Connor was a little bit bemused by when I brought it up, but it's Oxford Social of the Year. This is basically, this award goes to kind of the overall, it doesn't have to be from the club, it could be from a member of the fan base, or the opposite way around, just your favourite bit of Oxford United content that was posted on social media this season. I'm going to go with just the clip of Cameron Brannigan singing Will Lanx's chant at the training ground, because it just showed how much that lad had kind of had fitted into the dressing room. And, I think a lot of the members of that dressing room are going to be even more gutted to lose him than we are. Will, what would your nomination be?
Oxford Social season. I was stumped by this as well, and I couldn't work out what it meant. I didn't know if it meant like the best social event that happened during a game or before a game, if there was something I missed at the pub or whatever. I don't know. But so like there are standout things on the Oxford United Twitter community, which is mainly one we'll be basing it off. Mm-hmm. And there was a tweet just recently. It's still fresh in my mind just because it was last week. And obviously when Wrexham were coming in, somebody had tweeted, I can't remember who it was, they tweeted the Hollywood Bowl, and they said something like, Wrexham fans, if you ever feel homesick in Oxford, just come here and you feel right at home. And that really made me laugh. I don't know, for me, I thought that was very creative. I know it's probably something you're going for, but I was absolutely stumped by this category. But for me, I thought just for the creativity, that's going to be my nomination.
Big up Swiss Yellow. I think that was him.
I think it was Swiss Yellow.
Connor, you've been especially in recent weeks, very active on the old socials with a quite long thread on while we're going down. But I'm afraid you can't pick your own. What's your nomination for Oxford socials of the season?
They're usually very few and far between, especially this season. But I'm going to have to go with anytime we win and Jack on Twitter, OXF Jack. Anytime they all do alternative commentary when we win, because they're always fucking class.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I want to change my answer. I think it was against Ipswich. No, it wasn't against Ipswich. Against somebody, I can't remember. And Plaheta was made a substitute, and I tweeted Plaheta 90th minute winner incoming, and he got it in the 88th minute, something like that. That is my social of the season. I remember that, and I remember I had people, in my replies. I felt like I was on top of the world. That's my social of the season.
Actually,
now just
no, sorry, I'm going to change it. My social of the season is myself unfollowing Second Tier Podcast.
I was going to say another honourable mention is actually, I can't remember which fan base it was, but they got royally rattled by Jack Curry.
Oh my gosh.
West
Brom. Unbelievable. So
when he's a Championship player next season.
Yeah.
But not with us.
Or the Pompey fans absolutely losing their shit over everything that happened in that game against Portsmouth. The red card, all anxious celebration. They're still talking about it nowadays. So, yeah, there's been a few good highlights this year.
Yeah, in a season of relegation and some real drab moments, there's been the odd ray of sunshine. Next award we will go to is goal of the season. Now, the club's one I thought quite interesting went to Cameron Brannigan against Millwall. Not to spoil anything, but mine is a little bit more recent than that. Connor, what's your nomination?
Well, I was going to go with one that was incredibly recent, but then I thought there would just be recency bias, and I have a feeling that someone else here might choose that one. So I actually went with Tyler Goodrum versus Southampton because it was an absolutely voluptuous strike against a team that had been relegated from the Premier League, but also the layers that were to it in that he wasn't really played under Gary Rowett, and it was the first game since Rowett had been sacked, and then Craig Short puts Tyler Goodrum in a 10 where everybody seems to know that's where his best position is, and he absolutely thunder bastarded it in for about 20 minutes, and the stadium went absolutely cockapoo. So that's going to be my one. That's going to be my my goal of the season.
Will, what's your nomination?
I think you could pick several of the goals that were scored on Saturday. Partly, when Will Vauxhall scored his goal just for his celebration.
His left foot.
he was waiting the whole season to do that in front of the East End. But for me, I'm going to have to say it was from my favourite player, Plaheta, against it at Bristol away, and it was just before the second half. Again, another thunder bastard into the top corner, and I think that I remember it just because it's what he does. He will spend 89 minutes making terrible decisions and winding everybody up in the stadium, and then he'll just pull that out, and we'll all forgive him for it. And also because I think when that goal went in, it really made us believe that we could actually get our first away win of the season. Hence the mad celebrations at halftime. So I think for me, it will have to be that one.
Very good choice. My nomination is, like you said, Connor, it's very much recently biased, but Lancashire's goal against Sheffield Wednesday. It's a superb goal. His second. The first is a fantastic little back heel, but the second is a beautiful strike from range. There was a couple I thought of. Obviously, Brannigan's against Millwall is very good, just for kind of the raw emotion. Either Sparky's against Leicester or against Watford. But I've watched that goal. I've watched Lancashire's second against Wednesday back multiple times yesterday and today, and it's just a sensational goal. So we have to pick a winner, boys. I'm willing to to sacrifice Lancashire's superb goal, because I've got a feeling it won't be the only award he walks away with tonight, and I'm willing to back one of yours. I'm leaning towards one. Will, have you got one you're willing to change for?
Oh, I don't know. They're all Goodrum's and Plahettas. They're both brilliant goals. I can't work it out. I think I really like Plahettas just because I was there to see it for once this season. It's so special to me. I don't know. I think either of them are worthy winners.
Let's be honest. I think it is Will Lancashire's if we're being completely objective about it, because it was a fucking ridiculous strike.
We say that. Thinking back, that literally top Benjamin's Poheta, unbelievable goal. I'm going to back Will. I will go Shemi Poheta's against Bristol City is our goal of the season. What are you saying, Con?
Oh yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, right then, we'll put it down.
Yeah,
Poheta's against Bristol City. Yeah,
it's only award he's going to get tonight. I don't think we'll be seeing him next season. Right, let's go on to more positive notes. Let's talk about the signing of the season. I've got a feeling this is going to be one of the awards that our number 27 walks away with. Connor, your nomination?
See, I was going to put on number 27, but then he's going to walk away with another award, which I'm fairly sure that he's going to do. So I actually, even though he's only played about 2/3 of the season, I put De Keersmaker because you could see his quality. I thought that he was a bit in and out towards the end before he had his shoulder surgery, but you could definitely see the quality of player that was there. And you think, why on earth is he at a club that's battling against relegation in the Championship? And I absolutely hope that he does the right thing and he does the decent thing and he says that I'm going to stay because I elected to have surgery myself, rather than the club say I was going to have surgery. I missed the last third of the season when we could have been fighting against relegation. So for me, it's going to be Brian De Keersmaker, because a certain other player that we brought in the summer is going to walk away with another award.
Will, who would your nomination be?
Yeah, I was thinking of nominating that certain other player, because honestly, without him, where are the goals coming from this season? And we would have been so much further down the table without him. But I'm actually going to agree with Conor. I'm going to go with Brian De Keersmaker, just because like the skill and like the football intelligence and the way he would command not only the midfield but the whole pitch in the games that he played, and some of the performances and the odd goal that he got were brilliant. So I think without him, we really would have struggled this season. So I would also go Brian De Keersmaker.
Well, that's fair enough. Majority rule wins. My nomination was going to be Yunus Konak, because I think the 6 months he's played for us, he's been absolutely sensational. The way he's developed as a footballer has been brilliant. Obviously, there's certain rumours about interactions he had after the Wednesday game, but I'm taking that out of consideration. For me, Yunus Konak's been absolutely sensational for 6 months he's been here. But you both went for Brian De Keersmaker, which means he does win the award. Congratulations to Brian De Keersmaker. And like you said, Connor, hopefully we see him next season. I think the next award, kind of, we'll get all the final negatives out of the way, is underperformer of the season. Now, this is not the worst performance of the season. This is someone who massively... didn't meet the expectations that we thought they would. I'll throw my nomination out there, and it's going to be Gary Rowett, because as we talked about multiple times this year, Gary Rowett is the reason we are going down to League One. He's obviously was also manager of Leicester City. Now they're heading down to the third division, but we said at the time that we were okay with Rowett ball for that 6 months he first came in, as long as we look to play football this club is used to playing. And we didn't. Obviously, not all of it falls on Rowett's shoulders. Go back and listen to last week's podcast. But also, I go on about it a lot, but he seemed to really not want to build a strong relationship with the fan base. Bloomfield showed in his first game it's not that difficult. So my nomination for underperformer of the season is Gary Rowett. Connor? Who's your
Yeah,
nomination?
I don't need to add any more. I think that this section's done. So yeah, I'm not sure about you, Will, but probably Gary Rowett. It's so outside the box, I didn't even think about the dugout.
Any other thoughts, Will?
No, I didn't even think about him as well, but I think that's the perfect choice. It has to be Gary Rowett. Just relegating 2 teams in one season.
Has there ever been a manager in the Championship that has had 2 relegations in one season? I've been thinking about this, and I don't think that I can find one.
Not in the same season. Obviously, Bloomfield has got 2 in back-to-back campaigns.
2 in one season is mental.
Yeah, that's like almost unprecedented, I think.
I just also him just refusing to come over and clap the fans, away games, home games. It takes 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And you can say it all you want in an interview, how much you value the supporters, but come over and show us. And, like Matt Bloomfield, he really sort of enamored himself with the fan base from the get-go. When he was meeting the fans before the last game, running over to that away end, that will always be like sort of like a very iconic image of him.
Yeah.
He's not quite. I'm not saying he's reaching like Des Buckingham levels of love for a manager. I don't think any manager could reach that, but he's shown it's really not that difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, I think that's spot on. I think it has to be Gary Rowett.
And the fact that the only time he did clap us was on the halfway line just before he was about to get sacked, and it was the most sarcastic clap I've ever seen in my entire life. So the final big 2 awards, and I've got a feeling it's going to be very clear who these are going to go to, but we're going to try and throw in some different mentions. Breakout star of the season. In previous campaigns, there's obviously, a couple of players would have been up for grabs for this. Tyler Goodrum. I think last season had a pretty decent campaign. Before obviously getting sent off Exeter. There's also names like, we've already mentioned Eunice Konak. I think Jamie Donnelly, since he's come in, has been very, very good. But am I right in saying that all 3 of our nominations are going to be Stan Mills, or is there is any, one of you got a different option?
No, I have written down here Stan Mills because Stan Mills is the correct answer.
I was going to say Eunice Konak because he's gone from playing next to no proper games in English football to becoming like part of our starting 11, our regular starting 11. And when he isn't mentioned in the starting lineup, you start shitting yourself because you think we're really going to miss him in these games. So for me, it has to be him to do what he's doing at the age he's doing it. I think he's done brilliantly this season. But I would also agree, Stan Mills.
Yeah, it's a good shout. But I think the answer is Stan Mills. Like you said with Goodrum earlier, Connor, the fact that he was pretty much frozen out by Gary Rowett, and then under Bloomfield has just come alive. He looks a totally different player. The confidence he's got in him, I'm just hoping that we can keep holding him for at least next season. I'm hoping that he'll remember that this club gave him put trust in him after a horrific ACL injury, and he'll hopefully stay with us for next season.
Sorry, Sam, there are players in that squad. I was saying to people that I sit next to, you'd think, well, given the way that our recruitment and have been moving over the past 24 months, you'd hope that they'd do something like this. They'd say to players who are the core squads of the team that got relegated. So I'm thinking people like Stan Mills, De Keersmacher, even Brannigan now, because I think he's coming to the last year on his contract, possibly even Hellick or Spencer. You'd say to them, right, look, I know you don't want to be playing League One football, third division football, but here's a 1-year extension to your contract. You get his promotion out of League One, and if we don't get promoted, then we'll happily listen to offers from other clubs. But that's what I'd hope that they do, and the players would show the same loyalty back. But yeah, especially for someone like Stan Mills, because if he's still here at the start of the season, you can fully see that within the first 3 or 4 games in August, he's already got 2 goals and 3 assists, and there's clubs in the Championship that are already looking at him, waiting until the last 36 hours of the window to be able to go and poach him, what they think will be for a cutthroat deal.
I don't think Brannigan is in the last year. I think, didn't he sign an extension in the summer?
He signed an extension before our first year in the Championship, so that would be 2 years ago.
I can't remember. I'll have to. I'll look into that and report back in a couple of weeks. But I think Brannigan is one of those players that we don't really have to worry about him going, because I think he's very much.
I don't think he's going to go, but like if he had that opportunity, if there was, let's say for example, just trying a Bristol City, those fuckers down the road, if they came along, they offered, slapped on the table, I don't know, say for example 2.5 million, and then they offered him 15 grand a week because it would be somewhat local to him. He would probably somewhat consider it. Whether he would take it, I'm not saying he would take it, but it would definitely be something that he would have to consider.
Well, anything to add on Mills's breakout season?
No, it's been brilliant for us, and it's nice that he sort of repaid the loyalty that we showed to him, and just the performances that he's put in, the goals that he scored. Like we would be so much worse off if we didn't have him. I'm just thinking back to like those nearly moments where, you know, he could have been the star of the show, like if he had got that goal against QPR or against, I think, Bristol at home, I think it was, or if his assist at Portsmouth away had gone in. I think, you know, he's one of those players that you know is excellent, but he isn't like the star of the show, if that makes sense. He isn't like Lancashire getting all the goals, but if it weren't for him, Lancashire wouldn't really be getting many goals, I think, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think I agree. I think he's a perfect choice for breakout star.
And speaking of a player, I believe we're all going to go for the winner of our main event, the player of the season for Oxford United. All agree that it goes to Will Lancashire. I think, you know, we've spoken a couple of times this season just how much we've fallen in love with Will Lancashire. We had it with Ben Nelson last season, James Beadle the season before. We do it quite a lot of this football club, but Lancashire is the one in recent years. It's gonna hurt so much when he goes. You could see, I mean, overall the body language on Saturday was one of, you know, they were gutted that we're going down as much as we are, but I think Lancashire cried a couple of times because of, you know, the amount we were singing this song and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the official EFL account is putting up his first goal and asking Spurs striker next season. So, you know, I think everyone's starting to cotton on to what we've been saying all season, that Will Lancashire is a properly good number 9 I think he's still, you know, for the next couple of weeks, still 20 years old. And I was saying this to the person next to me, if you look at the past next Harry Kanes that have come out of Tottenham, I think that Will Lancashire is the most similar to Harry Kane in the way he carries himself on and off the pitch, the way he plays. You know, I can't see anything other than Will Lancashire going, as Harry Redknapp would say, right to the very top.
Don't be afraid to lump an investment on Will Lancashire as top goal scorer in the Championship next season if he goes to a top-end Championship club. That's what I'd say to anyone who likes to make investments. But in terms of Will Lancashire and his future career projection, I'm not saying that he has the same amount of raw talent or he is as good as this player. But when you look at him, although none of us saw him in the flesh, all three of us have heard stories about Joey Beecham and how talented he was and the career that he could have had and the career that was expected of him, in that he could have been the first, although Martin Keown did it a few years later, like the first boy who played from Oxford to go and play for England regularly. I think that this is the player that we expect to have a similar career projection, in that if when he gets one foot in the door in the Premier League and regularly starting, you're bound to see him probably be a consistent player in the Premier League who's getting at least 10 goals and potentially one day starting for England. I think you and I, Sam, had a conversation a couple months back or even a few months back about if he would get into Spurs starting lineup right now. And I think that a lot of Spurs fans have cottoned on to that. This is a very, very good striker. If you're getting 11, 12 goals at a club who can't score for shit, who don't know how to create anything, and you're getting relegated, I think that's a sign of a pretty good striker.
100%. Will, anything you'd like to add on your namesake?
No, I echo everything you've said, and it will hurt so damn much when he does leave the football club. And I do think he's going to go on to play for England in a couple of years' time. And when he does, I hope he remembers that it's Oxford United is the club that got him there, and we're the ones that made him. Can you just imagine, like, if he does stay? Because he's shown so much love for the club, and maybe it's just him being like sort of young and, a bit more his emotion, doesn't regulate his emotions as much as like older players do. But I think the chances are very slim. It's going to hurt very much when he does leave, but it's almost getting to the point where like you almost want him to fly the nest and go to a bigger club. Looking upon him like a proud father. That's my boy getting goals in the Championship, getting goals in the Premier League. But yeah, he's been the player of the season. Without him, I don't know where the hell we'd end up in the table or where the hell the goals would come from. But yeah, he's been phenomenal, and I wish him all the best in his career. I hope his career at Oxford maybe can continue a little bit longer, but I think there's a 1% chance of that happening. And so I hope wherever he goes off, he smashes it, which he definitely will do.
It's going to be weird in that Millwall away end on Saturday because it's going to be like, I think that the dust has settled and everybody's gotten over it. Sam, I'm not sure if we're still going, but like the dust has settled. I think it's going to be more of a day out, not so much a party atmosphere, but fans going really to enjoy themselves. And then come the end when the match is over and if, there's no trouble or whatsoever and the players are able to enjoy their time on the pitch, it's going to be the emotions are going to turn quite quickly. Not saying there's going to be emotional and people will be crying, but they'll know that it will be the last time that we'll see Lancashire in a yellow shirt, and might be the last time for at least 12 months or so that we see Championship football. So it's going to be, I think it'll be an enjoyable, but also a reflective day on Saturday, and Will Lancashire has been a massive part of that. Yeah.
He may well have been born in the Sheffield area, but he very much, I don't think he would mind me saying he really, came of age as a footballer at Oxford United this season. And I think, we talked when he signed, he was off the back of 11 appearances, very sparing for West Brom. Obviously, gets his first career goal for Spurs, and then he gets sent off against Galatasaray, but very sparring opportunities, and then rocks up in OX4. And I won't lie, I thought, okay, maybe we might have another Dane Scarlett on our hands. A player who shows a lot of promise that isn't able to hit, smash the ball in the back of the net regularly, but he's proved me massively wrong. And like you both said, I'm absolutely gutted that he's going to be leaving our football club. And, I echo what you both said. I think there is a very high chance that Will Lancashire will be playing for England, if only because just the way he carries himself and his application is sensational. I mean, just an example for Spurs fans, I go back to the game at Middlesbrough when Adamu Amaku's not tracking back, and Lancashire, who is younger than Amaku, shouts over to him and reminds him we need to get involved in the defensive side of the game. I think that speaks volumes about the kind of person that Lancashire is. Like you mentioned there, Connor, there's it's going to be another 12 months at least until we're playing Championship football. And I think, this is a season that, although we'll want to forget it for a number of reasons, the one reason to remember fondly is going to be Will Lancashire. So massive congratulations to Will Lancashire, who wins our player of the season. As you mentioned, Connor, we're off to Millwall on Saturday. I will certainly be going to round out the campaign, having only missed 7 matches this season. Every single home game, just the rotten midweekers and all the Saturdays up, most of the Saturdays up north. Are you both making the trip to the capital?
I am. I was debating on whether I was going to go, but I thought, yeah, it'll be a fun day out. It'll be a good time, I think. Yeah.
Well, are you making the trip down?
I wish I was. I don't even have a season ticket, so I didn't have a chance in hell of getting a ticket for this one. I've sort of been hoping that
going on Yellow's Forum, mate.
Might have to. Tickets. Yeah, I mean, the amount of people who are reselling their tickets, you never know. I might have a chance. I might look into it, but I would like to go because I feel like moments when you've just been relegated is when the club most needs you. You have to go there. You back them when they're at Wembley and when they're getting promoted, and you also back them when they're back in London and they've just been relegated. So yeah, I'd love to come. I'm gonna look into that.
I'll look into it, yeah. Although I will say 36 quid to go to Bermondsey is a worse deal than paying 40 quid to go to Shepherd's Bush, in my view. But anyway, that's a conversation for an entirely different day. Hopefully we'll have a lot cheaper away days in back in League One next season. But thanks so much for watching this week's episode of Walking the London Road, folks. Let us know your respective winners of our awards in the comments down below. Also, please remember to subscribe and like. Massive helps out in the algorithm. As I mentioned, please also follow us all on Twitter, as you can see on screen. And of course, we'll be back next week for the final regular season episode of the podcast, where we're not going to be going through the match because, as we all mentioned, it's going to be basically an exhibition. We're going to be going through which members of the squad we think will be going, which will be staying, and identifying early which additions we think Ed Waldron and Matt Bloomfield would need to be targeting. But until then, we'll see you next week.